The beautiful girl in the picture is named Catherine Wells-Burr. At just 23 years old, she encountered the biggest disaster of her life. She was not only drawn into a complicated love triangle, but until the last moment of her life, she probably had no idea that behind the sweetest honey love was actually a massive scam wrapped in layers of lies and greed. Catherine's early life. Catherine Wells-Burr was born in Chard, Somerset, in the southwest of England. She got along very well with her family and friends, being an obedient and sensible girl. Her favorite thing was listening to music. From childhood to adulthood, she always planned her life systematically. As she was about to graduate from university, she was lucky enough to find an internship at the large company Pneumatic International. She cherished this opportunity and put in a lot of effort. Meeting Rafael Nowak. In 2010, when Catherine was 21 and at the age when romantic feelings begin to blossom, she met a 29-year-old man named Rafael Nowak during her internship. Rafael was Polish and appeared harmless on the surface, but in reality, he had a wife and daughter in Poland. For some reason, he hid his past and came to England alone to work. Right after arriving in England, he started dating a 30-year-old Polish colleague named Anna Lagwinowicz. From the time he met Catherine, Rafael began juggling between the two women. This kind of life was not easy. At first, both Anna and Catherine were unaware of the other's existence. The relationship develops. Catherine always believed that her love with Rafael was perfect. She introduced Rafael to her family. Her parents happily accepted their future son-in-law. After Catherine graduated from university, they even provided financial support for their daughter and boyfriend to buy their first home, a cute little house near the company. In 2011, 23-year-old Catherine graduated from university. Thanks to her excellent performance during the internship, she was retained at Pneumatic International and promoted to the finance department. This was a great start. Rafael's decision. Perhaps because Catherine was outstanding and could provide a better life, Rafael, who had always been indecisive between Anna and Catherine, finally chose to be with Catherine. He cut off relations with Anna and moved in with Catherine. Life could have progressed smoothly. A close couple getting married, having children, and living happily. This was also the future that Catherine and her parents had envisioned countless times. However, they had no idea that a terrible disaster was right in front of them. The mysterious disappearance. On a day in September 2012, Catherine suddenly disappeared without any warning. She didn't go to work and had no plans to take leave. The first person to notice was her boyfriend, Rafael, who lived with her. Worried because she wasn't at work, Rafael found her manager and informed him. He said he was really concerned. That morning at 5 o'clock, when he left home, he had lightly kissed her goodbye. Now she wasn't coming to work, not answering calls or even replying to messages. Although the two worked at the same factory, Catherine did finance work and started at 9 a.m. Rafael was assembly line worker with a shift starting at 5:30 a.m. Catherine had never overslept and missed work. Her behavior that day was very unusual. Rafael hoped maybe she was just sick or hadn't heard the phone. That evening, he went home as usual, but Catherine wasn't there, and her car was also gone. Reporting to family and police. That night, Raffle called Catherine's parents to ask if she had gone back to them. The answer was no. Catherine's mother recalled that upon receiving the call from her future son-in-law, she felt uneasy, with an intuition that something was wrong with her daughter. Raffle said that recently Catherine had received messages and emails from an ex-boyfriend, including threatening words like, "If I can't have you, no one can." The whole family began to worry about Catherine's safety. Raffle was also concerned that Catherine might do something to herself, because recently she had expressed being very pained and anxious, and had once told him she wanted to end it all. The situation was getting more complicated. The family decided it was bad enough to need police involvement, so they notified the police and started a search. Discovering the body. According to procedure, the police searched Catherine and Rafal's home. They asked Catherine's family to stay at home and wait. At this point, the family could only worry and comfort each other. Not long after, they received the news they least wanted to hear. The police found Catherine, but she had tragically passed away. She was discovered in her own car, about 7 miles from the town where she lived. The red Ford sedan had been set on fire and burned beyond recognition, leaving only a skeleton. Catherine was found sitting in the driver's seat. Initial analysis. Initially, the responding officers thought she was an adult with free will, and possibilities included running away in anger or self-harm due to mental issues. But clearly, someone choosing to end their life is unlikely to burn themselves in their own vehicle because the difficulty is too high. So this was a deliberate arson case, and consequently, Catherine's death was classified as a malicious murder. Obviously, the suspect wanted to eliminate all evidence by setting the fire. Suspicions from the family. On the night they learned Catherine had been killed, the family went to the police station to report some suspicious situations. The mother said that when they arrived at their daughter's home, Rafal seemed very anxious, constantly saying things like, "I'll never see Catherine again," and "My whole world has collapsed." At that time, Catherine had been missing for less than 24 hours, and the news of her death hadn't come yet. The family thought maybe it was some accident or temporary disappearance. But when the police notified the family of Catherine's death, Rafal appeared indifferent, not shedding a single tear, and even cheerfully talking about planning to eat a fresh steak that night. Information about insurance. Catherine's family also remembered a very important detail. Catherine and Rafal had recently purchased life insurance, designating each other as the sole beneficiary. The value of these policies was astonishing. If one had an accident, the other would get £123,000. Life insurance is, of course, a good thing because you never know what will happen. But for young people, buying such a huge amount of insurance is rare. Catherine was only 23 years old. Having such expensive life insurance at her age was definitely not normal. Moreover, for an unmarried couple to designate each other as the sole beneficiary made it even more suspicious. Investigating Rafal. People with intricate romantic ties to the victim, like partners, ex-partners, husbands, or wives, are often the first suspected by police. This is routine. Rafal was taken to the station for questioning. He said that the night before, he and his girlfriend went to the supermarket together, came home to eat dinner, watched TV, and finally went to bed together. At 5 a.m., when he got up and left home, Catherine was still sleeping in bed. The police decided to investigate Rafal further, searching his home and phone, and thus discovered his secret double life. Rafal's double life. During his relationship with Catherine, Rafal had not actually cut off ties with his girlfriend Anna. In just a few months, they met 78 times. According to Rafal's own words, they had broken up. However, had they really broken up? Messages on his phone showed he secretly met Anna multiple times a week, sometimes even twice a day. Anna had somehow learned of Catherine's existence and was very jealous. The exchanged messages indicated they still maintained an intimate relationship. Rafal's criminal history. The police decided to investigate Rafal's history more thoroughly. Sure enough, Rafal had been accused of multiple crimes in Poland, including records of violent assaults on women, reckless drunk driving, and abusing his wife. He also owed large debts in Poland. Investigating Catherine. At the same time as investigating Rafal, the detectives also began looking into Catherine's life trajectory. They hoped to understand what kind of person she was and who she associated with. Then the police discovered that Catherine had registered a profile on an adult online dating website. These dating sites were not like Tinder or Match.com, which have a social nature, but purely for adults seeking partners. On the site interface, Catherine's text information seemed off. The police compared the text records Catherine left and her way of speaking in emails, and the wording didn't look like her. Could someone have stolen Catherine's identity? So, the police investigated all the materials further and found some clues. Those sexy photos of Catherine were all edited using software. Obviously, someone had taken exposed women's photos from the internet and photoshopped Catherine's head onto them. These virtual profiles could be traced back to a month before Catherine's incident. The latest message sent by Catherine was at 5:17 a.m. on the morning she was murdered, texting a man that she was on her way to meet him. Tracing the messages. Based on this clue, the police began tracking the phone SIM card, hoping to find who had done those heinous things to her. While they were doing all this, Catherine's forensic examination report came out. Her cause of death was asphyxiation. The police speculated that after death, she was placed in her car and transported to some location. And one officer recalled that when they first entered Rafal and Catherine's room for inspection, they hadn't discovered the murder yet, so they didn't search particularly. But there was something strange in the house. The officer remembered seeing a pillowcase, washed clean, and hanging on the line to dry. Washing bedding is very common, but the probability of washing just one pillowcase at a time, everyone can judge for themselves. Analyzing the car and time. Trace experts examined Catherine's car and, through reconstruction, determined the fire occurred around 6:20 a.m. Although the police suspected Rafal, he had indeed clocked in at the company around 5:30 a.m., so the arsonist was obviously someone else. The forensic report stated that Catherine was wearing shorts when her body was burned, but people who knew Catherine said she never wore shorts in public. A friend said he had only seen Catherine wear shorts once, and that was when she was at home in pajamas and shorts for sleeping. So it's entirely possible that Catherine was asphyxiated with a pillow while asleep. When she was in pajamas, she wasn't prepared for the day yet. This also contradicts the theory that she was going to meet a man from the website, because obviously Catherine wouldn't go out in pajamas and shorts to hook up with a man she had just met online. Contradictions in statements. Catherine's forensic report provided a very important piece of evidence for the case, the fact of her death and the undigested food in her stomach. Experts said this situation with undigested food in the stomach couldn't have occurred any later than 5 a.m. So, in reality, she was murdered between 2 and 3 a.m. And Rafal told the police that before leaving, he kissed his girlfriend who was in bed. This was obviously a lie. It's highly likely that he murdered Catherine before going to work. Then, to provide an alibi, he hired someone or brought someone into the house to take the already murdered Catherine away, deliberately creating the illusion of arson after he had gone to work. Arresting Rafal. Within 24 hours after Catherine was found, Rafal was detained by the police. It was from that time that the whole thing started to show clues. After reviewing the texts between Rafal and his ex-girlfriend Anna, the police saw a jealous woman. Anna threatened to harm Catherine. The police thought maybe Anna knew something, or perhaps she was involved, so they decided to arrest this ex-girlfriend. Evidence involving Anna and Uncle. By tracking the SIM card that Catherine used to send texts that morning, the police discovered that Anna's phone and Catherine's phone were both located at Catherine's home on the day of the incident, as well as at the location where her car was burned and at a gas station in between. At the gas station, Anna and her uncle, who was about the same age as her, Tadeusz Dimitroshin, were seen using a large container to buy a lot of gasoline. The case now sounded increasingly complex, with more and more people involved. The police had more reason to believe this was a premeditated event. The web of conspiracy. Anna and Tadeusz were very close. Tadeusz was Anna's uncle, but her only friend in England. They came from Poland together. They were similar in age, and Tadeusz doted on Anna. Now, in the police's view, this seemed like a huge network woven from intricate motives and reasons. The love triangle between Anna, Catherine, and Rafal was definitely the fuse for the incident. And insurance and money were the motives. This might also be why Anna's uncle got involved. In fact, Rafal was playing with two women at the same time. Maybe he realized choosing Catherine over Anna was a mistake and wanted to go back to Anna, so now he needed to get rid of his relationship with Catherine. The detailed plan. No matter what, they had planned this for months, starting from creating fake online profiles for Catherine. They couldn't wait to frame Catherine on unknown men from the internet. They kept requesting meetings with those men, hoping that when the police discovered this information, they would think she died because of careless associations. On the night of the incident, Rafal woke up in the middle of the night and asphyxiated the sleeping Catherine with a pillow. After that, he called Anna and her uncle over. Around 5 a.m., after he left home himself, he had Anna and her uncle transfer Catherine to the trunk of Catherine's car and use Catherine's phone to send a text about going to meet an online friend. Then he went to work. Anna and her uncle drove to a location about 7 miles from Catherine's home. The two found a secluded spot unlikely to be discovered and parked the car. They moved Catherine from the trunk to the driver's seat, fastened her seatbelt, put on her shoes, then splashed the purchased gasoline on the car. They chose to set the fire after 6 a.m. when Rafal was already at work, so they could create an alibi for him. Video evidence. The police obtained surveillance footage from a few blocks near the incident site. Anna discarded some items at a trash station shortly after the fire, which were later proven to belong to Catherine. Conviction and trial. The scumbag Rafal, his girlfriend Anna, and Anna's uncle were quickly charged with murder. After the three were arrested, for a long time they didn't provide anything to the police and refused to admit their crimes. Then suddenly, Rafal and Anna turned on each other. Rafal said Anna murdered Catherine out of jealousy, and Anna said Rafal hired a killer to kill Catherine in order to get the insurance money. These two had completely different stories. While in prison, Anna met a fellow inmate who was about to be released. She wrote a confession letter in the name of the killer and asked this inmate to mail it to the police after getting out. In the letter, in the name of the killer, she wrote that Rafal promised to give him £20,000 to get rid of Catherine. Unexpectedly, as soon as the inmate got out, she handed the letter to the police. Anna later got an additional charge. On the day of the trial, Rafal cried in court, saying he had lost the love of his life. He defended himself by saying he had nothing to do with Catherine's death and that it was all Anna. But on the way to court, someone overheard Rafal telling Anna he loved her, and Anna replied the same. The police said these actions showed that the two had murdered Catherine together to jointly reap the insurance money. When the prosecutor asked Rafal in court why he told Anna he loved her, he said it was just to make her happy. He didn't actually mean it. He just wanted to get more information from her about how she murdered Catherine. The police later revealed that the three had actually planned to act on the night before the incident. However, Catherine was woken up by a phone call in the middle of the night, which frustrated the whole plan. This meant she lived one more day. Sentencing. The three people in the case were all convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to at least 32 years in prison each. Later, it is said that lawyers sent their trial back to a Polish court, which would mean the minimum sentence reduced from 32 years to 25 years, just because the sentencing laws differ between countries. But these appeals were rejected. They also appealed for reduced sentences on other grounds, but all were denied. The three are now serving time in British prisons. Catherine's legacy. Catherine's family later established the Catherine Wells-Burr Foundation. The funds raised are used to help victims and their families deal with the aftermath. The family is also campaigning for stricter immigration laws in Britain. It is said that people entering Britain from other places are not screened enough in terms of criminal records. For example, in this case, Polish authorities certainly knew about Rafal's reckless drunk driving, domestic violence behavior, and huge debts. When he entered Britain, if he had undergone strict screening or at least more monitoring after entering, Catherine's tragic fate might not have happened. Conclusion. The naive girl in this story was obviously deceived by a more experienced older man. As the saying goes, know the face but not the heart. May hopes that girls in love, especially those far from home in a foreign country, will be more cautious in relationships. Carefully observe the man by your side before making the final decision. Well, that's the key shared for today. If you like my video, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.